myself.
शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकम् हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्वजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगदः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। श्रीपार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः। कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी द्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने. കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞാനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടാത്തോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Sorry we couldn't have the class last week, but anyway. So we'll do a review of 25 today. So let me see who I had. So Girish, can you do one half, and then Devi, can you do the other half?
Yep.
Sure. Okay. अम्बे घट्टयतो हिरण्यकशिपोः कर्णौ समाचूर्णयन् आधूर्णजगदण्डकुण्डकुहरो घोरस्तवा भूद्रवः श्रुत्वा यं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यक्षुतं कम्पः कश्चन सम्पपात चिलतोऽप्यम्पोच भूर्विष्टरात्
Last line, Chalitopyam Bhoj. Last line, just after the comma.
चलितो ओके दैत्ये दिक्षु विसृष्टचक्षुषि महासम्भ्रमिणि स्तम्भत्सम्भूतं न मग्रात्मकं न मनुजाकारं वपुस्ते विभो किं भीषणमेतद् अद्भुतमिति व्युद्भ्रान्तचित्ते सुरे विस्फूर्जद्वलोग्ररोम विकसद्वर्ष्मा समाजृम्भताः तप्तस्वर्णसवर्णघूर्णदतिरुक्षाक्षं सटाकेसरप्रोत्कम्पप्रणिकुम्भितामहर्महो जीयते वेदं वपुः व्याप्तमहादरी सखमुखं खड्गोग्रवल्गन्महाजिह्वा निर्गमद्यश्यमान सुमहा त्रंश्रायुगोढामरम् उत्सर्पद्वलिभङ्गभीषणहनुं ह्रस्वस्तवीयस्तरग्रीवं पीवरदोषतोद्गतदक क्रूरांशुदूरोल्बणं व्योमोल्लङ्घि घनाघनोपमगन प्रद्वाननिर्धावितस्पर्धालुप्रकरम् नमामि भवतस्तं नारसिंहं वपुः.
The first line, Girish, in the Bishana Hanu, we said to remove the im if you have it. So just remove that im dot. Okay, just Hanu. Yeah.
Bishana Hanu. Okay. Okay, thank you. नूनं विष्णुरयं निहन्यमुमिति ब्रह्मगदाभीषणं दैत्येन्द्रं समुपाद्रवन्तम् अधृता धोर्भ्यां पृथिभ्याममुं वीरो निर्गलितोत खड्गफलकौ गृह्णन् विचित्रश्रमानव्यावृण्वन् पुनरापपात भुवनग्रासेऽद्यथं त्वामहे हो भ्राम्यन्तं.
I think 5 more. That's good.
Sorry?
It's halfway. That's 5 is good.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
भ्राम्यन्दं दिदिजामं पुनरपि प्रोद्गृह्य दोर्भ्यं जवात् द्वारे धोरुयुगे निपात्य नखरन् व्युत्थाय वक्षो भुवि निर्भिन्न गर्भ निर्भरगल रक्ताम्बुबद्धोत्सवम् पायं पायुमुदैरयो बहुजग संहारि सिंहारवन्.
Devi, and the second line, Nipatya, adikapram comma, second line, after Nipatya.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last word which you just said is Simharavan.
Okay, Simharavan. Okay, thank you. Tvaktva tam hatamaashu raktahari स्निग्धोर्णमद्वर्ष्णमी प्रत्युत्पत्य समस्तदैत्यपटलीं चाखाद्यमाने त्वयि भ्राम्यद्भूमिविकम्बितभूदिकुलं व्यालोलशैलोत्करं प्रोत्सर्पत्खच्चरं चराचरमहो दुस्तामवस्था ददौ.
The first line, Hatamashu, and then comma, the first line. And then the last word there, Siktonna madvashmani.
Siktorna madvashmani.
Correct.
तावन्मांसवपाकरावपुषम् घोरान्द्रमालाधरम् त्वम् मध्ये सभमित्रकोपमुषितम् दुर्वारगुर्वारवम् अप्येतुम् न शशाक कोऽपि भुवने दूरे स्थिता भीरवः सर्वे शर्वगिरिञ्च वासमुखाः प्रत्येकमास्तोषत प्रत्येकमस्तोषत
Second line, first word, second line, Tvam madhye.
त्वां मध्ये भूयोऽप्यक्षत रोषदाम्नि भवति ब्रह्माज्ञया बालके प्रह्लादे पदयोर्नमत्यभये कारुण्यभाराकुलः शान्तस्त्वं करमस्त्यमूर्धनि समादः स्तोत्रैरदो गायतः तस्या कामधियोऽपि ते नितवरं लोकाय चानुग्रहम् एवं नाडितरौद्रचेष्टित विभो श्रीतापनीयापथ श्रुत्यन्दस्फुटिगीत सर्वमहिमा अत्यन्तशुद्धाकृते महिमन् अत्यन्तशुद्धाकृते तत्तादृक्निखिलोत्तरं पुनरहो क्वासापरो लङ्घयेत्
Kastvam paro langhayet.
कस्त्वां परो लङ्घयेत् प्रह्लादप्रिये हे मरुपते सर्वा मयात् पाहि माम् प्रह्लादप्रिय हे मरुपते सर्वा मयात् पाहि माम्
Marut purapate in the middle word.
प्रह्लादप्रिय हे मरुत्पुरपते सर्वा मयात् पाहि माम्
Krishna Parabrahmane Namah. The first line, last word, Sritāpaniyābhida.
Sritāpaniyābhida, and then it's continuation, right?
Yeah, continuing. Yes, yeah. Okay. All right. Both of you did really well. Okay, we'll continue with Dasakam 26. Let me see who had Bhuvana, you can be a student, and Deepa Shrikant, you can be a student. So I think we did the first few stanzas, first three stanzas of Gajendra Moksham, right? So just to kind of recap, we were talking about this a king who used to be there called Indradyumna, who was a very great devotee. Then eventually he had renounced everything, and then he had gone to the mountains, right? He had retired, and then he was practicing in the ashram there. So at that time, one day Agastya comes, and then because he was in the state of silence, Indradyumna, and he was also meditating, he did not realize Agastya coming. So Agastya then curses him that he's going to become an elephant in the next one, someone who's just minding his own business, standing like an elephant, not moving or anything. So he then curses him to be that. And then Agastya Muni left. However, he's blessed that he will actually remember, right, some of the things that happened in his previous life. At least the spiritual journey will continue for him, even though he becomes an elephant. And then we saw how in the Trikuta mountains, this Indradyumna is born again. And Indradyumna is born again, and he's a very powerful and strong elephant. And he's spending his time, right, in the early part of his years, just idling around with all his friends and all of them. That's how he's spending his time. So with that, we'll go to the fourth stanza. Svena stemna divyadeshatvashaktya soyam khedana prajanan kadachit shaila prante gharmatanta sarasya yutai sardham tvat pranunno bhireme. So this Indradyumna, like the Gajendra just means Indra of Gaja, which means one who's the lord of the elephants. That's not literally his name, right? He's like the king of the elephants there. So he was, of course, very strong, right? Like we spoke earlier, he was the strongest person in the earth. And not only was he strong, but in each of these regions or lands also has its own power. So it says Divya Deshatva Shaktya, because he was already in a Divya Desham, that also brings its own power to it. So because of all of this, he was just undefeatable, right? He was just the strongest person. Everything was going fine. However, one day when it was intense summer, so garma is referred to heat, garmi, right, in Hindi. So because of the intense summer heat, the elephants could not bear. No, they were just running, getting very tired. So they all decided to go into a lake, which is there in the mountains. And then, he decided to go there. So this king, along with his family and along with his friends, they all go into that lake to drink water and to cool down. Svena sthena divya deshatva shaktya, comma, soyam khedan. I'm just breaking at that na, so it's easier. Khedan aprajanan. So it becomes a in and a. Aprajanan kadachit. Shaila prante gharma tantah. Put a istantas sarasyam, comma, yutais sardham tvat pranunobhireme. स्वेन स्थेम्ना दिव्यदेशत्वशक्त्या सोऽयं खेदान प्रजानन् कदाचित् शैलप्रान्ते घर्मतान्तः सरस्यां यूतैः सार्धं त्वत्प्रणुन्नोभिरेमे.
स्वेन स्तेम्ना दिव्यदेशत्वा शक्त्या सोऽयं केदान् अप्रजानन् कदाचित् शैलप्रान्ते घर्मतान्तः सरस्यां यूतैः सार्धं त्वत्प्रणुन्नोऽभि रेमे.
The third line, first word is sha sound. Shailaprante.
शैलप्रान्ते. स्वेन स्तेम्ना दिव्यदेशत्वा शक्त्या सोऽयं केदान् अप्रजानन् कदाचित् शैलप्रान्ते घर्मतान्तः सरस्यां यूतैः सार्धं त्वत्प्रणुन्नोभिरेमे.
Deepa, you're on mute.
स्वेन स्थेम्ना दिव्यदेशत्वशक्त्या सोऽयं खेदान अप्रजानन् कदाचित् शैलप्रान्ते धर्मतान्तः सरस्यां यूतैः सार्धं त्वत्प्रणुनोभिरेबे. स्वेन स्थेम्नां दिव्यदेशत्वशक्त्या सोऽयं खेदान अप्रजानन् कदाचित् शैलप्रान्ते धर्मतान्तः सरस्यां यूथैः सार्धं त्वत्प्रणुनोभिरेबे.
Double na sound. Twatpranunobhireme.
त्वत्प्रणुनोभिरेमे.
That's a fine. Stavat. Weird question. Stavat शापात् ग्राहीभूतस्तज्जले वर्तमानः जग्राहैनं हस्तिनं पाददेशे शान्त्यर्थं हि श्रान्तिदोषे स्वकानाम्. So, some of these things, when we live through our lives, daily lives, we don't understand why incidents happen, why certain things happen. We have no idea because we have no context of what was happening before. But some of the great rishis, they had the visibility into why certain things were happening the certain way. So in that lake, we are going to go to another story. Long time back in the Gandharva planet, which are one of those more higher elevated consciousness planets, there was a Gandharva leader called Hu. That is the first word there, Hu. So that's his name. So that Hu was one day in the waters of somewhere in that region, enjoying, having fun. At that time, he didn't realize that there was another rishi called as Devala Rishi, who was actually meditating underwater. So this who's just having fun, chilling out with his friends under the water, accidentally went and pulled that Rishi's leg, thinking it was one of his friends because they were all playing. So at that time, the Rishi's penance got disturbed. So the Rishi said, "You seem to be so having fun underwater and playing. You seem to be enjoying that more. May you become that in your next birth." So he then ends up being born in that region as a crocodile, because crocodile enjoys being underwater and just swimming, right? And biting people and pulling them by the leg. That's what crocodile does. So he then becomes that. So in that region, in that lake, that who happens to be there. Now, at that time, Devala, when that when he was cursed, he realized his mistake, right? So he begs that Devala Rishi, saying, "I committed a mistake. I realize it. But of course, some of these things, once it's done, it is not to be considered a curse. It is considered something. So you go through a learning." So he says, "Don't worry. You will totally realize your mistake. Eventually, you'll be freed and you'll come back to Gandharva kingdom when the appropriate time comes," right? So with that, the who is there, and this Gajendra happens to come there along with his friends. And it so happens that when Gajendra is drinking the water, the who now grabs onto Gajendra's leg when he's drinking. Who's is sound, who's tavad devalasyapi shapat. Like I said, the sage's name is Devala. That's why it's devalasyapi shapat, comma. Grahi bhutas tajjale vartamanah jagrahainam hastinam padadeshe, shantyartam hi shranti dosi swakana. See, Bhattaripad says something very, very important. He says, everything is going fine for Gajendra, right? He's the leader of the pack. Everything is going fine. He's happily enjoying. He says, "Why, Guru Ayappa, are you giving this specific punishment to him? Why did Gajendra have to get pulled by that crocodile there when everything is going fine?" Right? So it happens to all of us, right? Everything is going fine in our lives. We are thinking it's the best life we have because of all the punyams we have done. Suddenly, some curveball comes, right? And then we have problems in our life. We wonder why the problem is happening. So here he says, it's all because of your welfare that a problem always occurs to you, because there's something that is going to happen as a result of the suffering that you are going to have, which is what he's saying. You just will not, just like that, a problem is not going to happen to you. Gajendra's primary intent in this life is different, but he had lost that primary motive, right? And he was just happily hanging around with his friends, and he was not going to attain his desired intent of this life by doing that. So something had to change, right? Some incident, some trigger had to happen. So he's going to come back to his original purpose, which is what is happening, because of which Gajendra is getting caught by the crocodile. Huhustavad devalasyapi shapat grahi bhutastajjale vartamanah jagrahainam hastinam padadeshe shantyartam hi shranti dosi swakanam.
हुहुस्तावद् देवलस्यापि शापात् ग्राहीभूतस्तज्जले वर्तमानः जग्राहैनं हस्तिनं पाददेशे सान्द्र्यर्थं हि श्रान्तिदोषि स्वकानाम्.
Fourth line, first word is sha sound. Shantyartam.
शान्त्यर्थं हि हुहुस्तावद् देवलस्यापि शापात् ग्राहीभूतस्तज्जले वर्तमानः जग्राहैनं हस्तिनं पाददेशे शान्त्यर्थं हि श्रान्तिदोषि स्वकानाम्.
हुहुस्तावद्देवलस्यापि शापात् ग्राहीभूतस्तजले वर्तमानः जग्राहैनं हस्तिनं पाददेशे शान्त्यर्थं हि श्रान्तिदोषि स्वकानाम्. हुहुस्तावदेवलस्यापि शापात् ग्राहीभूतस्तजले वर्तमानः जग्राहैनं हस्तिनं पाददेशे शान्त्यर्थं हि श्रान्तिदोषि स्वकानाम्.
Stanza 6. Tvatsevaya vaibhava durnirodham yudyantam tam vatsaranam sahasram prapte kale tvatpadaikagre siddhye nakrakrantam hastivaryam yadhastvam. So here, he's Gajendra, of course, like we said, he's very strong. So what is the natural reaction when a crocodile grabs onto his feet? He feels that he can fight the crocodile and win with the crocodile. So he's trying to fight with the crocodile, but he's not able to free himself because the crocodile is also strong. So then all the elephants have multiple wives. So it's multiple wives of Gajendra, his friends, everybody who is there, they all try to pull Gajendra out of the water, but they are not able to pull Gajendra out of the water, right? His feet is just stuck there, and the crocodile has completely grabbed onto it. So at one point, the friends and the relatives are not able to help him anymore, right? And they give up on Gajendra. And but this Gajendra is continuing to fight, and it says he fights for a really long time. He's trying to fight with it. Over time, what happens is if you are a land animal, your strength deteriorates when you're in water. So he's kind of in water, his strength is deteriorating. But the crocodile is in water animal, right? So its strength is increasing, it continues to retain its strength. So the crocodile is not letting go. It is not able to pull him completely into the water, nor is Gajendra able to completely release himself out. So, like we all do, Gajendra fights, never gives up, right? He thinks, I can fight over this, and he continues to fight over this. But at some point, we all give up, right? And that is the time when we say, okay, I cannot solve this problem. I think it's time I go to the temple or pray to Bhagavan to say, please cure, help me out of this problem. So it says at one point in Gajendra's duration there, it says, Tvat padai kagra, Tvat pada ekagre siddhe. So he says, I'm completely surrendering to you because there's no way I can help myself out of this problem, right? And at that point, he says, I'm completely surrendering to you, and then you help me out. And we'll see who the you is in the next stanza, right? So this is something which is very important because Gajendra is thinking, right, that all my friends, all my relatives, when I'm in such deep problem, they are of no use to me because they themselves are stuck. They don't want to get into the water because they are worried the crocodile is going to grab onto them. So they are not able to help me beyond a particular point. I am left to myself. When I'm left to myself, I can also only fight up to a particular point. So I need to surrender myself and resort to somebody who's stronger than me, right? At that point, what Gajendra does, right, in this thing is, he says, you then, oh Bhagavan, he's beginning to lose, right? When Gajendra begins to lose, he gives up, right? And that's a very important thing because I'll quote another incident from Mahabharata, which you all know of. You all know of Draupadi Vastapaharanam, right? Where Draupadi is disrobed in the court, right? So as you know, she was wearing only one vastram that day. And that vastram, she holds on to that vastram, right, with her hand. She doesn't want to let it go. And, she's then trying to yell, scream, nobody's helping, etc. At one point, all she had was she was holding that vastram with her teeth. She was biting that vastram with her teeth. That was the thing which was holding, right? And at one point, she says, I cannot do that anymore. And she calls out to Govinda. At the point she calls out to Govinda, she lets go what she's holding, which is such an important thing, right? Because imagine, right? You need to have the trust to know that I am going to let it go, right? Because none of us have the thing. We always think that we can fight it through and we cannot completely let it go, right? But those two incidents, both Draupadi's incident and Gajendra's incident, is that where Gajendra says, I'm going to stop fighting. And then he's going to call Bhagavan right now next. So when he stops, at that time, we'll see what happens when it goes to the next stanza. But at this point, he just gives up completely. त्वत्सेवाया वैभवात् दुर्निरोधं, युध्यन्तं तं वत्सराणां सहस्रं प्राप्ते काले त्वत्पदैकाग्र्य सिद्ध्यै, नक्राक्रान्तं हस्तिवर्यं व्यधास्त्वम्. त्वत्सेवाया वैभवात् दुर्निरोधं युध्यन्तं तं वत्सराणां सहस्रं प्राप्ते काले त्वत्पदैकाग्र्य सिद्ध्ये नक्राक्रान्तं हस्तिवर्यं व्यधास्त्वम्.
त्वत्सेवाया वैभवाद् दुर्निरोधं युध्यत्यन्तं तं वत्सराणां सहस्रं प्राप्ते काले त्वत्पदैकाग्र्य सिद्ध्यै नग्राक्रान्तं हस्तिवर्यं व्यदास्त्वम्.
Second line, first word. Yudhyantam.
युध्यन्तं त्वत्सेवाया वैभवाद् दुर्निरोधं युध्यत्यन्तं युध्यन्तं तं वत्सराणां सहस्रं प्राप्ते काले त्वत्पदैकाग्र्य सिद्ध्यै नक्राक्रान्तं हस्तिवर्यं व्यदास्त्वम्.
त्वत्सेवाया वैभवादुर्निरोधं युद्धद्यन्तं तं वत्सराणां सहस्रं प्राप्ते काले त्वत्पदैकाग्र्यसिद्ध्यै नक्राकान्तं हस्तिवर्यं व्यदास्त्वम्.
Deepa, the word, second line, first word again. Yudhyantam.
युध्यन्तं त्वत्सेवाया वैभवादुर्निरोधं युध्यन्तं तं वत्सराणां सहस्रं प्राप्ते काले त्वत्पदैकाग्र्यसिद्ध्यै नक्राकान्तं हस्तिवर्यं व्यदास्त्वम्.
Stanza 7. आर्तिव्यक्त प्राक्तनज्ञान भक्तिः क्षुण्डोत्क्षिप्तैः पुण्डरीकैः समर्चन् पूर्वाभ्यस्तं निर्विशेषात्मनिष्ठं स्तोत्रं श्रेष्ठं सोन्वगादीत् परात्मन्. So at that time when Gajendra completely gives up, it says, however, what spiritual knowledge Gajendra had from his previous birth as Indradyumna suddenly kicked in at the time of stress because he had completely given up. He was an elephant, right? Elephant is not going to go about doing prayers every day, but his subconscious soul still had retained that memory of it. Because of that knowledge that he had, then Gajendra does a stuti. Now, Gajendra is not going to chant in Sanskrit, right? He's an elephant, but he can imagine what he wants to say, right? Which then gets converted to Sanskrit. So there's one beautiful slokam I'm going to just chant. It is there in Bhagavatam. It's like a 20 stanzas stuti that Gajendra does, right? So Gajendra uvacha Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yata Etat Chidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Bidhimahi. He says he prays to this Purusha. He doesn't go and say, oh Shiva bless me, or Brahma bless me, or Narayana bless me. He doesn't call out to any of the god. He says the Supreme Lord, whoever the Supreme Lord, right? You, Supreme Lord, who's a Purusha, you come and help me, or Dhimahi, please protect me here, because I am not able to fight with that. He's giving, and what he does is he grabs on to a lotus, which is actually lotus flower, which is in that water there, and then he offers it to that Purusha, and he does a stuti in his mind, right? With that, the crocodile is now beginning to chew on to Gajendra at this point. But and this reason this is important, right? Is there are a lot of examples of where there is somebody, people just retain certain things in them. The soul never forgets some of the learnings, right? That always continues. We saw in the Dasakam 20 when I spoke about the Jada Bharata who got attached to the deer, but then he still retained it. Gajendra is one example. There's even later on, it also in Bhagavatam, it also talks about how when your soul is in the womb of your mother, at some advanced souls, not everybody, remember all your past lives and all the sins you have committed, and it prays saying, I don't want to come out. It remembers, but at some point, then everything memory goes off, right? And you come back to this world and then you continue your life. So certain things do not go away. It is that some spark has to happen to trigger it, which is what is happening to Gajendra, because of which he's doing this stuti, and then he addresses the Nirguna Brahman with this lotus flower there. Arti Vyakta Praktana Jnana Bhaktihi, comma, Shundotkshiптaihi, put a F, Shundotkshiптaihi, Pundarikaihi, put a is. Pundarika refers to lotus flower. Pundarikais Samarchan, Purvabhyastam, Nirvisheshatma Nishtam, comma, Stotram. I think some books have stotra. If you have a stotra, then just put a in there. Stotram Sreshtham Sonvagadit Paratman.
ராஜேஷ் சாரி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சென்டென்ஸ்ல அது என்னோட இதுல தஹான்னு இருக்கு, அது தீயா வரணுமா?
Last letter.
ஃபர்ஸ்ட் சென்டென்ஸ்.
Arte Vyakta Praktana Jnana Bhaktihi.
Bhaktihi.
Yeah, Visarga there. Yeah. Arte Vyakta Praktana Jnana Bhaktihi Shundotshiptaif Pundarikais Samarchan Purvabhyastam Nirvisheshatmanishtham Stotram Sreshtham Sonvagadit Paratman.
ராஜேஷ், அந்த செகண்ட் ஃப்ரேஸ்ல அது ஷுண்டோவா துண்டோவா?
Sha, sh. Shundotshiptai. That refers to the trunk of the elephant.
Okay.
आर्तिव्यक्त प्राक्तन ज्ञान भक्तिः शुण्डोक्षिप्तैः पुण्डरीकैः समर्चन् पूर्वाभ्यस्तं निर्विशेषात्मनिष्ठं स्तोत्रं श्रेष्ठं सोन्वगादीत् परात्मन्. आर्तिव्यक्त प्राक्तन ज्ञान भक्तिः शुण्डोक्षिप्तैः पुण्डरीकैश्च मर्चन् पूर्वाभ्यस्तं निर्विशेषात्मनिष्ठं स्तोत्रं श्रेष्ठं सोन्वगादीत् परात्मन्.
आर्तिर्व्यक्त प्राक्तन ज्ञान भक्तिः शुण्डोक्षिप्तैः पुण्डरीकैः समर्चन् पूर्वाभ्यस्तं निर्विशेषात्मनिष्ठं स्तोत्रं श्रेष्ठं सोन्वगादीत् परात्मन्.
And on the first word, you said artir. You said there's no ir there. Just arti vyakta.
Okay. In my book there is a ir. Okay. आति व्यक्त प्राक्तन ज्ञान भक्तिः शुण्डोक्षिप्तैः पुण्डरीकैः समर्चन् पूर्वाभ्यस्तं निर्विशेषात्मनिष्ठं स्तोत्रं श्रेष्ठं सोन्वगादीत् परात्मन्.
The first line, praktana jnana bhakti. Na. Praktana jnana bhaktihi.
Praktana jnana bhaktihi.
Sanjay. Shrutva stotram nirgunastam samastam brahmeshadye nahamitya prayate sarvatma tvam bhuri karunya vegate tarksha ruda prekshito bhuv purastat. So when Gajendra does that stotram to the Nirguna Brahman, it says, so Brahma, the Ishadya, so it's Brahma, Shiva, all others, right? Everybody else saying, okay, that they are not calling me, because if they'll call me, I will go help. But so he's addressing this Nirguna Brahman who doesn't have any form, right? The Brahman Purusha does not have any form. So who is the person who's going to go help Gajendra right now? So at that time, you, O Guruvarappa, referring to Lord Hari Narayana, saying, you are Sarvatmatvam. You are the one who is there in everybody's soul, right? You are the Paramatma who is there in every Jivatma. You realize that this prayer is being addressed to you. So the moment you realize that, you then mount on Garuda and instantly show up there where Gajendra is getting stuck right now, right? So the question is, why didn't Bhagavan come before, right? No, he could have just prevented this from happening. Many reasons why, because you're going to see what happens to who later, you're going to see what happens to Gajendra later in the next stanza. All of that just follows a sequence of things, and it was also important for Gajendra to realize, no, this doesn't mean that Gajendra should have not fought and immediately done that stotram before, right? That's not what it is. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you have to do your duty, but don't think that you can control the outcome of everything that is going to happen, right? So do your duty, at the same time surrender the result to me, which is what Gajendra finally did, was he surrendered. So with that, when Bhagavan comes, then Gajendra, who was struggling because this crocodile is chewing on to his leg gradually and pulling him in, finally when he sees that Bhagavan coming on Garuda, he then takes that flower and offers it to that. And then the stanza which comes in Bhagavatam, it says, Narayana Akhila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. So he's saying, I am bowing to you, O Narayana, who is the Supreme Lord. right, to which everybody surrenders. I'm offering this flower to you because Gajendra now gets a darshan of Bhagavan there. Shrutva stotram nirgunastam samastam, brahme shadhyer naham itya prayate, if you want to break it. Sarvatma tvam bhuri karunya vegat, tarksharudaha, put a F, tarksharudaf prekshito bhuhu, another F, prekshito bhuf purastat. Shrutva stotram.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, one question. Brahme Shardhyai, ade Shard on the ir
Shadhyer.
Shadhyair. Okay,
Shadhyer. And the ir is coming on the na, if you're following
Na.
Sanskrit. Shrutva stotram nirgunastam samastam brahme shadhyir nahamitya prayate sarvatma tvam bhuri karunya vegat tarksha rudaf prekshito bhuv purastat.
श्रुत्वा स्तोत्रं निर्गुणस्तं समस्तं ब्रह्मेशात्यैर्नाहिमित्या प्रयाते सर्वात्मा त्वं भूरि कारुण्यवेगात् दार्श्यारूढप्रेक्षितो दोबुः पुरस्तात्
The second line, nahamitya prayate.
नाहमित्यप्रयाते श्रुत्वा स्तोत्रं निर्गुणस्तं समस्तं ब्रह्मेशात्यैर्नाहिमित्यप्रयाते
Ha sound. You are saying he.
नाहमित्यप्रयाते सर्वात्मा त्वं भूरि कारुण्यवेगात् दार्श्यारूढप्रेक्षितोबुः पुरस्तात्
Shrutva stotram nirgunastam samastam brahmeshade nahamitya prayate sarvatma tvam bhuri karunya vegat tarsharudaf prekshito bhupurastat. Is it boohu or
An F sound will come. Tarksha rudaf prekshito bhuf purastat.
Shrutva stotram nirgunastam samastam brahmeshadhyai nahamitya prayate sarvatma tvam bhuri karunya vegat tarsharudaf prekshito bhuf purastat.
That's it, right? Hastindram tam hastapadmena dhritva chakrena tvam nakravaryam yadharihi gandharvesmin muktashape sahasti tvatsarupyam prapyadhe sma. So both of these people are going to have different results now. First is Bhagavan then rescues Gajendra by pulling him out of his hands. He extends his hands and Gajendra holds on with his trunk and then he pulls him out of that. Then to the crocodile who is there, with the chakram you cut. Now, when you say cut crocodile, you cannot say why is Bhagavan killing crocodile. The point is, it's a body. He's actually a Gandharva. His true soul is different, right? He has to get liberated from this body so he can go back to being a Gandharva. So the only way to do is for him to shed this body. So that's what happens. Bhagavan gets rid of this crocodile body. So then the Gandharva soul comes out of it and then it realizes what it truly is. It does namaskaram. He retains his original body as a Gandharva and then he goes back to the Gandharva planet. That who goes away to the Gandharva planet. Because Gajendra was a great devotee in his previous birth, Indradyumna, who was supposed to have already gotten liberated, but due to unforeseen circumstances became an elephant here. Because Bhagavan also held on to him, he then got Tvatsarupyam. He then got your own form, which means he then gets your form and then he goes to Vaikuntham with your form of Krishna. So with that, Tvatsarupyam prapya dedipyate sma. So Gajendra then gets liberated and goes to Vaikuntham, attaining the same form as Bhagavan. Hastindram tam hasta padmena dhritva, chakrena tvam nakravaryam vyadarihi gandharvesmin मुक्तशापे स हस्ती त्वत् सारूप्यं प्राप्य देदीप्यते स्म हस्तीन्द्रं तं हस्तपद्मेन धृत्वा चक्रेण त्वं नक्रवर्यं व्यधारीः गन्धर्वेऽस्मिन्मुक्तशापे स हस्ती त्वत्सारूप्यं प्राप्य देदीप्यते स्म
हस्तीन्द्रं तं हस्तपद्मेन धृत्वा चक्रेण त्वं नक्रवर्यं व्यदारीः गन्धर्वेऽस्मिन् शापे स हस्ति त्वत्सारूप्यं प्राप्य देति प्यते स्म हस्तीन्द्रं तं हस्तपद्मेन धृत्वा चक्रेण त्वं नक्रवर्यं व्यदारीः गन्धर्वेऽस्मिन् मुक्तशापे स हस्ति त्वत्सारूप्यं प्राप्य ते देदीप्यते स्म
हस्तीन्द्रं तं हस्तपद्मेन धृत्वा चक्रेण त्वं नक्रवर्यं व्यदारीः गन्धर्वेऽस्मिन् मुक्तशापे स हस्ति त्वत्सारूप्यं प्राप्य देदीप्यते स्म हस्तीन्द्रं तं हस्तपद्मेन धृत्वा चक्रेण त्वं नक्रवर्यं व्यदारीः गन्धर्वेऽस्मिन् मुक्तशापे स हस्ति त्वत्सारूप्यं प्राप्य देदीप्यते स्म
That's a 10. एतद्वृत्तं त्वां च मां च प्रघेयो गाहेत् सोऽयं भूयसे श्रेयसे स्यात् इत्युक्त्वैनं तेन सार्धं गतस्त्वं धिष्ण्यं विष्णो पाहि वातालयेश. Like a phalastuti at the end. So where Bhagavan tells Gajendra that whoever remembers you, remembers the story of you fighting and then how I came and rescued you at the time, every day in the morning, right? Will then get bhuyase shreyase, will get the greatest of the shreyas, which is getting liberated. So every day morning, remember the story and think about this. It's beneficial to you. So with this, you, O Bhagavan, take Gajendra along with you to Dishnyam, which means to Vaikuntham. So Gajendra goes there. And then this chapter, Dasakam, comes to an end. O Guru Arapa, please eradicate my ailments also. Etat vrittam tvam cha mam cha prageyo, gayet soyam bhuyase shreyase syat ityuktvainam tena sardham gatastvam dishnyam. So put a plus and then put a comma after the word dishnyam. Gatastvam dishnyam, Vishnu pahi vatalayesha. Etat vrittam tvam cha mam cha prageyo gahet soyam bhuyase shreyase syat ityuktvainam tena sardham gatastvam dishnyam Vishnu pahi vatalayesha.
एतद्वृत्तं त्वां च मां च प्रगेयो गायेत् सोऽयं भूयसे श्रेयसे स्यात् इत्युक्त्वैनं तेन चार्धं कदस्त्वं धिष्ण्यं विष्णो पाहि वातालयेश एतद्वृत्तं त्वां च मां च प्रगेयो गायेत् सोऽयं भूयसे श्रेयसे स्यात् इत्युक्त्वैनं तेन चार्धं कतस्त्वं तिष्ण्यं विष्णो पाहि वातालयेश.
The third line, tena sardham. Sa sound.
तेन सार्धं
Yeah. Sardham gatastam.
सार्धं
एतद्वृत्तं त्वां च मां च प्रगेयो गाये सोऽयं भूयसे श्रेयसे स्यात् इत्युक्त्वैनं तेन सार्धं गतस्त्वद्धिष्ण्यं विष्णु पाहि वातालयेश एतद्वृत्तं त्वां च मां च प्रगेयो गाये सोऽयं भूयसे श्रेयसे स्यात् इत्युक्त्वैनं तेन सार्धं गतस्त्वं धिष्ण्यं विष्णु पाहि वातालयेश.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, we'll switch halfway. Mrinalini, you can be student, and Hari, you can be student. Okay, so we'll get into the next series of, it's a 27, 28, 29 are all kind of connected. So it starts with Kurmavataram in 27, then it will go to Lakshmi Swayamvaram in 28, and then go to Mohini Avataram in 29. So it's kind of all three are all interrelated. So it kind of flows through together. So stanza 1. Durvasa Suravanitapta Divyamalyam Shakraya Swayamupadaaya Tatra Bhuyah Nagendra Pratimhridite Shashapa Shakram Kakshantistvaditara Devatam Shajanam. So, like we long time back in Dashakam 5, 6, 7, etc., we spoke about Manvantara and Manu and all. We saw Swayambhuva Manu, Uttanapada, all of that was happening during the first Manu. So all these previous ones are all happened in different Manu. Now we are coming to the sixth Manu. Right now, we all are in the seventh Manu right now, Vaivasvata Manu. This from now on, it is happening with the sixth Manu, who was the previous Manu called a Chakshusha Manu. So all the way from 27 through end of Matsyavataram, which happens in 32, happens in the time of the Chakshusha Manu. Then it transitioned to Vaivasvata Manu. So anyway, in this Manu's period, like I said, every Manu's period, there's a different Indra. The Indra is just a title. A different person becomes an Indra. So on the Saptarishis, everything changed, right? So there's a different person who has become an Indra right now. And then Bhagavan has different incarnations in every Manvantara. So in this Manvantara of Chakshusha Manu, the Bhagavan incarnates as Ajita. That is the name, like how we say Rama, right? Rama is an incarnation. So similarly, Ajita is the name of the incarnation of Bhagavan in this Manu. And that Ajita is who is going to become the Kurma Avataram. He's going to take the form of the Kurma and support and all of that. Anyway, so it starts off with, one day, right, when this period where this Indra, who was there, he was, of course, Indra is powerful, right? He's the head of all the demigods. So he always has this pride in him. So this Durvasa, sage Durvasa, one day gave Indra a special garland or some jewel or something. It Divya Malyam means something which is special, not just an ordinary garland or a necklace, but something which is very special. And Indra, what he did was he thought, who is Durvasa to give it to me? I have all the riches in the world. So he gives it to his elephant Airavata. And the elephant doesn't know the value of these things. He just puts it on the floor and tramples on it. So whatever Durvasa gave is shattered, right? Male or jewel. Durvasa, being Durvasa, gets very offended by it. And then, he curses Indra, saying, you have too much pride in everything you have. So everything you have, you're going to lose it, right? That's a curse that Durvasa gives to Indra. Durvasas Sura Vanitapta Divya Malyam, Shakraya Swayam Upadhaya Tatra Bhuyah Nagendra Pratimridite Shashapa Shakram, Ka Kshantis Twaditara Devatam Shajanam. So it's Devata Amshajana. So essentially, Bhattabhat is saying, like there's no, even though Durvasa might be a great sage, he's a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva, because through. So there's a long story about how Durvasa was born, but doesn't matter. But he's in partial incarnation of Shiva. But because the tamasic, that anger is still there in Durvasa, so even though he's a great sage, he's not able to control his anger, because of which he curses. Durvasa Suravanitapta Divyamalyam Shakraya Swayamupadaya Tatra Bhuyah Nagendra Pratimhridite Shashapa Shakram Kakshantistvaditara Devatam Shajanam.
Durvasa Suravanitapta Divyamalyam Shakraya Swayamupadaya Tatra Bhuyah Nagendra Pratimudite Shashapa Shakram Kakshantistvaditara Devatam Janam. Durvasa Suravanitapta Divyamalyam Shakraya Swayamupadaya Tatra Bhuyah Nagendra Pratimudite Shashapa शक्रं काक्षान्तिस्त्वदितरदेवतांशजानाम्
दुर्वासासुरगणितात्तदिव्यमाल्यं चक्राय स्वयमुपदाय तत्र भूयः नागेन्द्रप्रतिमृतिदेशससापचक्रं का शान्तिस्वदितरदेवतां जनानां
Devatam shajanam.
देवतां जनानां
The sha, the second line and third line, sha, sh sound. Shakraya, and then shashapa, shakram. Adun sha sound.
दुर्वासासुरनिदाप्य चक्राय स्वयमुपदाय तत्र भूयः नागेन्द्रप्रतिमृतिदेशसापचक्रं पाशान्तिस्वति देवतां सजनानां
Shajanam, devatam shajanam.
देवतां सजानां
That's it. शापेन प्रदितजरेत निर्जरेन्द्रे देवेष्वप्यसुरजितेषु निष्प्रभेषु शर्वाद्याः कमलजमेत्य सर्वदेवा निर्वाणप्रभवसमं भवन्तमापुः. So, like time when we all have bad times, no matter what we do, things never work out. Same thing is happening to the gods, right? When they also demigods. So Indra, Indra is the leader. So when he's being cursed, which means that he loses his power, which means the Asuras now get this as an opportunity. Like we see in multiple things, it keeps happening. So the Asuras, they all come and the demigods are all fleeing right now. Indra, Varuna, Agni, they're all in a state of confusion. And what they always do when they are in that state is they go to their leader, which is Brahma, and they go tell Brahma that, we are all in the state, Asuras are all attacking us, we have no place to go, they're taking away the kingdom, so what do? And Brahma then meditates at that time, and then he says, okay, I see why this has happened to you, because you all just have been excessively proud. So when you get very proud, things always get taken away from you, so that bring you back to humility. So he says the only way for us is we have to take the shelter of the Supreme Lord. So let's go meet him, right? And then pray to the Bhagavan, Narayana, to see how he can come and help us. Shapena pratita jareta nirjarendre, comma. So this says, although Indra is nirjara, which means he doesn't age, because Indra is going to live for his entire lifespan, right? Doesn't age, he's always young for his lifespan. He was getting aged, which means he was getting weak, right? So nirjarendre, comma, deveshvapya sura jiteshu nishprabheshu. Again, sha sound, sharvadyaha, put a h sound, sharvadyah kamalajametya sarvadeva, comma. Some books may have sarvadevaha. If you have it, just remove the visarga. Sarvadeva, comma. Nirvana prabhava samam bhavantamapuhu. शापेन प्रतितजरेत निर्जरेन्द्रे देवेष्वप्यसुरजितेषु निष्प्रभेषु शर्वाद्याः कमलजमेत्य सर्वदेवा निर्वाणप्रभवसमं भवन्तमापुः.
शापेन प्रतितजरेथ निर्जरेन्द्रे देवेश्य can you देवेष्वप्यसुरजितेषु निष्प्रभेषु शर्वाद्याः कमलजमेत्य सर्वदेवा निर्वाणप्रभवसमं भवन्तमापुः. शापेन प्रतितजरेत्थ निर्जरेन्द्रे
if you want to understand that, do you understand Sanskrit, Mrinalini, or no?
Yeah, I do.
Deveshu api asura.
Okay.
So deveshvapya sura jiteshu.
Okay. देवेष्वप्यसुरजितेषु निष्प्रभेषु शर्वाद्याः कमलजमेत्य सर्वदेवा निर्वाणप्रभवसमं भवन्तमापुः.
Rajesh,
Ah.
and I missed that part. And the third stanza, Sarva Devaha Lilianga.
Deva. I mean, I say, some books may have Sarva Devaha. So I said, if you
Okay.
have the Sarva Devaha, I said, remove the Visarga. Just Sarva
Oh, okay.
Deva, comma.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
सावेन प्रदिद जरेद निर्जरेन्द्रे देवेष्वप्यसुर जिदेषु निष्प्रभेषु शर्वात्य कमलजमेत्य सर्वदेवां निर्वाणप्रभवसमं भवन्तमाबुः सावेन प्रदिद जरेद निर्जरेन्द्रे देवेष्वप्यसुरजिदेषु निष्प्रभेषु शर्वात्य कमलजमेत्य सर्वदेवां निर्वाणप्रभवसमं भवन्तमाबुः.
That's a 3. ब्रह्माद्यै स्तुतमहिमा चिरं तदानीं प्रादुष्यन् वरदपुरः परेण धाम्ना हे देवादितिचकुलैर्विधाय सन्धिं पीयूषं परिमततेति पर्यशास्त्वम्. So they all go to this, like we said, region called Shweta Deepa, which is within this Brahmandam, but it is not bound by the material thing. Like, because nobody, Brahma or any of these demigods do not have access to that Vaikuntham, the main Vaikuntham. They can't just go, which is beyond this Brahmandam. They cannot go there because Brahma's region ends at Satya Loka, right? But like we have like access places, right, for the main offices. There's also a place called Shweta Dvipa where it's also like a small Vaikuntham. It is called Vaikuntham, but it is not the main one, where Bhagavan is there to help all the devas and everybody who is in this Brahmandam. So they all go there anyway. They go and they pray to Bhagavan saying, you have to come and help us out. So at that time, because Brahma has the vision, he is able to see the Lord, where the Lord comes in and says, let me tell you the message that you can communicate to this devas. He says, right now, because of everything that has happened, they are going to remain weak for a really long time. At this time, the best option for the devas is not to fight the asuras, who are in a very strong position. So anytime you cannot do that, he says the best approach is to go make truce with them, right? So he says they tell the devas to go make truce with the asuras, make peace with the asuras, and tell them both to go and churn for the nectar, which is all going to make them invincible. By invincible doesn't mean they're not going to die. They all have their end, but it's going to make them strong enough, and that's why the devas can actually begin to get back their power, right? This is the message that Bhagavan is giving Brahma, which Brahma then communicates to the devas. And the important thing which we're going to see here, which Bhagavan tells them, is to follow his instructions at various points, right, to get it and not get carried away, right? So he then tells them to just follow the rules and just go make truce with the asuras. So Brahma Dhehi, put a is, Brahma Dhyeis Stuta Mahima Chiram Tadanim. So for a long time, Chiram means for a long time. So for a long time they do a stuti, and finally Bhagavan comes. Pradushan Varada Puraha, put a F, Purah Parena Dhamna, He Deva Ditija Kulair Vidhaya Sandhim. So remember Diti, Aditi, Kashyap's two wives, Aditi, mother of all the devas. Diti is, remember Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, that Diti. So Ditija Kulair means the people who are the sons of Diti, which are the Asuras. So Ditija Kulair Vidhaya Sandhim, comma, Piyusham Parimatateti Paryashastvam. ब्रह्माद्यै स्तुतमहिमा चिरं तदानीं प्रादुष्यन् वरदपुरः परेण धाम्ना हे देवादितिजकुलैर्विधाय सन्धिं पीयूषं परिमततेति पर्यशास्त्वम्.
ब्रह्मैद्यैस्तुतमहिमा चिरं तदानीं प्रादुष्यन् वरदपुरः परेण धाम्ना हे देवादितिजकुलैर्विधाय सन्धिं पीयूषं परिमथतेति पर्यशास्त्वम् ब्रह्मैत्यैस्तु ब्रह्माद्यैस्तुतमहिमां चिरं तदानीं प्रादुष्यन् वरदपुरः परेण धाम्ना हे देवादितिजकुलैर्विधाय सन्धिं पीयूषं परिमथतेति पर्यशास्त्वम्
ब्रह्माद्यैस्तुतमहिमा शिरं तदानीं प्रादुष्यन् वरदपुरपरेण दाम्नां हे देवा तिरिजकुलैर्यदाय सन्धिं पीयूषं परिमदत्तेति पर्यसात्वम् ब्रह्माद्यैस्तुतमहिमा शिरं तदानीं प्रादुष्यन् वरदपुरपरेण दाम्नां हे देवातिथिजकुलैर्यदाय सन्धिं पीयूषं परिमदत्तेति पर्यसात्वम्.
That's a word. Sandhanam kritavati danavai surauge manthanam nayati madena mandaradhram bhrashtesmin badaramivodvahan khagendre sadhyastvam vinihitavan payah payodhau. Then the demigods then approach the head of Asuras, who is Maharaja Bali, the same Bali Maharaja who's going to come later in Vamana Avataram. So he is the head of the Asuras at this point. So they go and say that, we want to make a truce, right? You cease fire between Asuras and Devas. Let's not fight with each other. And a lot of them tell Bali that, oh, why are you accepting this? Because you are in a strong position. But Bali was a smart person too. So he knew the Devas are coming, that there's something that's going to, some benefit he's going to get. So they both agree not to fight with each other, right? And then Indra then gives a suggestion. So he says, hey, I've been told that we follow certain things, we all will get access to the nectar, which will make us all even stronger. So Bali says, deal, right? So then for that, what they have to do is they have to uproot that Mandara mountain, which is a massive sized mountain, which had to be used to anchor to then churn this. So the Asuras and the Devas decide to somehow lift all of that stuff, but they are not able to. So this is one of those things where multiple times Bhagavan has to come and help out. So they then again pray, and then Bhagavan then comes on Garuda, and then he's able to very easily lift that Mandara mountain, put it on Garuda, and go put it in the right place. So it talks about how it was just very easily, as if you were carrying a Badaram. Badaram refers to a berry. So as if you're lifting a berry and popping it somewhere else, Narayana, you then came as Ajita, I said the incarnation, you then came as an Ajita and then lifted that Mandara mountain easily to help the Devas and Asuras and put it in the right spot. Sandhanam Kritavati Danavaihi, put is Danavais Surauge, comma, Manthanam Nayati Madena Mandaradhram Bhrashtesmin Badaram Ivodvahan. I'm just breaking at that ma. Badaram Ivodvahan Khagendre, comma, Sadyastvam Vinihitavan Payaha, put a F, Payah Payodhau. Sandhanam Kritavati Danavai Surauhe Manthanam Nayati Madena Mandaradhram Bhrashtesmin Badaramivodvahan Khagendre Sadyastvam Vinihitavan Payah Payodhau.
Sandhanam Krutavati Danavaisuraughe Manthanam Nayati Madena Mandaradrim Bhrashtesmin Badaramivodvahan Khagendre Sadyastvam Vinihitavan Payah Payodhau. Sandhanam Krutavati Danavaisure Suraughe Manthanam Nayati Madena Mandaradrim Bhrashtesmin Badaramivodvahan Khagendre Satyastvam Vinihitavan Payah Payodhau.
Sandhanam Kritavati Danavaisurauge Mandanam Nayadi Madena Mandratrim Prishtesmin Padaramivodvahan Khagendre सत्यस्त्वं विनिहितवान् पयोधौ
पयोधौ
पयःपयोधौ सन्दानं कृतवरितानवैसुरौघे मन्दानं नयति मदेन मन्दरात्रिं पृष्टेऽस्मिन् पदरमिवोद्वहन् कहेन्द्रे सत्यस्त्वं विनिहितवान् भयपयोधौ.
That's fine. आधाय द्रुतमतवासुकिं वरत्रां पाथोधौ विनिहित सर्वबीजजाले प्रारब्धे मतनविधौ सुरासुरैस्तैः व्याझात्वं भुजगमुखे करोऽसुरारीन्. So now when you have to churn something, you put the center thing and then you need a churning, rope, right? So then they say the only person who can go wrap around the entire Mandara mountain and be extensible was the Vasuki snake. So they go put a deal with Vasuki also saying, you also come and help us out and then we will give you a share of the nectar. So Vasuki gradually, obviously obliges to that. So they all come. Now you have to, each person had Devas, Asuras, they're all two different teams. They all have to hold one side of it. So, like how we do with children, right? You take first what you think the child needs, then the child will want that. So, similarly, Bhagavan tells the Devas, you go grab the head of the snake. So, the moment the Devas go grab the head side of the snake, the Asuras feel, how is that fair? We are the stronger side, but you seem to hold the head, while the tail is considered the weaker side. So, this is we want to swap. Bhagavan says, let them swap. So the Devas just follow the instructions, just like what Narayana says, and then they go to the tail, they go hold the tail of the snakes, and the Asuras hold the head of the snake, which is considered more stronger than the tail. Adhaya Dhrutamata Basukhim Varatram, Patodhau Binihita Sarva Bija Jale Prarabdhe Mathana Bidhau Surasuraistaihi. So put a visarga and comma end of that line. Surasuraistaihi. Sura, asura. Two words there. Surasuraistaihi, comma. Next word, vyajatvam. There is a ir that will go away. Vyajatvam bhujaga mukhe karos surarin. The mukhe and akaros comes together. आधाय द्रुतमतवासुकिं वरत्रां पातोधौ विनिहित सर्वबीजजाले प्रारब्धे मथनविधौ सुरासुरैस्तैः व्याजात्वं भुजगमुखे करोऽसुरारीन्.
आथाय धृतमथ वासुकिं वरत्रां पाथोऽथौ विनिहित सर्वबीजजाले प्रारब्धे मथनविधौ सुरासुरैस्तैः व्याजात्वं भुजगमुखैकरोऽसुरारीन्. आथाय द्रुतमथ वासुकिं वरत्रां पातोऽथौ विनिहित सर्वबीजजाले प्रारब्धे मथनविधौ सुरासुरैस्तैः व्याजात्वं भुजगमुखैस्करोऽसुरारीन्.
आदाय त्रितमदभासुकिं वरत्रां पादौ विनिहित सर्वबीजजाले प्राराब्धे मदनवीदौ सुरासुरैस्तैः व्याज्यात्वं भुजगमुखे करोऽसुरारीन्. आदाय त्रितमदवासुकिं वरत्रां पादौ विनिहित सर्वबीजजाले प्राराब्धे मदनविधौ सुरासुरैस्तैः व्याजात्वं भुजगमुखे करोऽसुरारीन्.
That's a 6. क्षुब्धाद्रौ क्षुभितजलोदरे तदानीं दुग्धाब्धौ गुरुतरभारतो निमग्ने देवेषु व्यतिततमेषु तत्प्रियैषी प्राणैषीः कमठतनुं कठोरपृष्ठाम्. So now they all get ready to churn. Now, when you put this massive Mandara mountain on something, it is so heavy, it is going to sink. So while they have the Vasuki rope and everything wrapped around, the mountain is going to go under the water, right? So at the time, something had to come to hold the Mandara mountain under, so it doesn't sink. So again, the Devas then prayed to Bhagavan saying, you are the only one who has to come to help. So you, O Ajita, take the form of a tortoise because it has got a hard shell, right? So this one is a question that, Parikshit also asking, why is Bhagavan becoming a tortoise and a fish and all that, right? So he says, it doesn't matter, right? Because everything is Bhagavan's creation. So there's nothing like one is big or one is small. It is just whatever is intended for that purpose. So here they needed something to rest that Mandara mountain on. So what is the thing that can hold something on its back very strong is a tortoise because it's got a hard shell. So we'll see the size of that in the next stanza. But you then you come, Ajita, you come in the form of a tortoise, which has got a katora prishtam, which has got a very hard back, which can actually hold that Mandara mountain so it won't sink further into the water. Shubdadrau, Shubita Jalodare Tadanim, Dugdhabdhau Gurutara Bharato Nimagne Deveshu Vyatitatameshu Tat Priyaishi, Pranaishihi. Put the ih each sound. Pranaishih Kamatha Tanum Kathora Prishtham. Kamatha refers to the tortoise. Dugdadhau Kshubita Jalodare Tadhanhim Dugdhabdhau Gurutara Bharato Nimagne Deveshu Vyatitatameshu Tat Prihaishi Pranaishi Kamathatanum Kathora Prishtham.
क्षुब्धाद्रौ क्षुभितजलोदरे तदानीं दुग्धाब्धौ गुरुतरभारतो निमग्ने देवेषु व्यदिततमेषु तिप्रियैषी प्राणैषी कमटतनुं कठोरपृष्ठां क्षुब्धादौ क्षुभितजलोदरे तदानीं दुग्धाब्धौ गुरुतरभारतो निमग्ने देवेषु व्यदिततमेषु तत्प्रियैषी प्राणैषी कमटतनुं कठोरपृष्ठाम्.
क्षुब्धात्रौ क्षुभितजलोदरे तदानीं दुग्धाब्धौ गुरुतरपरोद निमग्ने देवेषु व्यदिततमेषु तत्प्रियैषी प्राणैषी कमलदनं कठोरपृष्ठाम्.
Hari, second line. Gurutara Bharato Nimagne.
Gurutara Bharato Nimagne. Shabdatrau Shabita Jalodare Tadanim Duktabdau Gurudara Paradu Nimagne Devesh Vedida Dameshu Priyeshi Praneshi Kamadadanum Kadora Prishtam.
Answer 7. Vajrate Stiratara Karparena Vishnu Vistarat Parigata Lakshayo Janena Ambodhe Kuharagatena Varshmanatvam Nirmagnam Kshitidharanata Munnineta. So this form, Narayana, you took this form of the tortoise, you got into the waters and then propped up the Mandara mountain, which was sinking. Now, the size of the tortoise cannot be estimated because the Mandara mountain is the biggest mountain because it is considered to be in the central axis of this entire universe. So it is a massive sized one. So if this tortoise is holding that mountain, and when they were churning it, it was as if somebody was just scratching on the back of the tortoise. So it means it's a massive sized shape, right? Which is at the bottom holding on to this. So you then do this with that, and then the mountain is propped up right now. So the Devas and Asuras can start the process, and then they both start doing it. And he just compares it saying the Vajra, Indra's Vajra, which came out of the backbone of the sage Dadichi, is considered the hardest substance. So he says it was stronger than the hardest substance that was ever there. because of which you are able to hold it up. Vajrati sthira tara karparena Vishnu, comma, vistarat parigata laksha yojanena ambodhehe, put a h sound, ambodeh kuhara gatena varshmana tvam, comma, nirmagnam Kshitidharanatam, just breaking at that ma. Kshitidharanatam unnineta. Vajrate stiratara karparena Vishnu vistarat parigata laksha yojanena ambode kuharagatena varshmanatvam nirmagnam kshitidharanatam unnineta.
वज्राति स्थिरतरकर्परेण विष्णु विस्तारात् परिगतलक्षयोजनेन अम्बोदेः कुहरगतेन वर्ष्मणा त्वं निर्मग्नं क्षितिधरनाथमन्निनेथ
Natam unnineta.
धरनाथमुन्निनेथ
It's actually, you can say it as Natham. Sorry, you can say it as Natham Unnineta.
वज्राति स्थिरतरकर्परेण विष्णु विस्तारात् परिगतलक्षयोजनेन अम्भोदेः कुहरगतेन वर्ष्मणा त्वं निर्मग्नं क्षितिधरनाथम् उन्निनेथ
वज्रादि स्थिर गरगत्परेण विष्णु विस्तारात् परिगद लक्षयोजनेन अम्बोदे पुर गुहर गदेन वस्पनात्वं निर्मग्नं क्षुदिधरनादमुन्निनेदे
Unninetha.
मुन्निनेद वज्रादि स्थिर
Rajesh and oh sorry, Ambo de la Visarga unda.
The Ambo Dehe is there, right? And the Visarga. So you put that H, ich sound. Ambo Deh Kuharagaten.
Okay, thank you.
वज्रादि स्थिरधर गर्परेण विष्णु विस्तारत् परिगद लक्षयोजनेन अम्बोदे गुहरगदेन वष्मणा त्वं निर्मग्नं क्षुदिधरनादमुन्निनेद.
Unmagne jhatiti tada dharadharendre निर्मेतुर्दृढमिह सम्मधेन सर्वे आविश्य द्वितयगणेऽपि सर्पराजे वैवश्यं परिशमयन्न विवृधस्तान्. So now everybody is excited. Devas on one side, Asuras, Vasuki, everybody is excited. They start the process. Now they get tired, because how long do you do this, right? Nothing is happening. So each of them, if you look at the three parties who are present there, are actually referencing three different gunas. In the Devas, the Sattva guna is on the high. That's why they are Devas, higher consciousness. The Asuras, the Rajo guna is stronger. Passion and desire is stronger. That's why they are the Asuras. And the Vasuki, being a snake, the tamas, ignorance and anger, all of that is higher, right? So those are the three gunas who are represented there. So if all of them are feeling tired, each of them had to be propped up or energized in different ways. So Bhagavan has to go energize each of them. So for Devas, he has to increase the Sattva guna. Asuras, Rajo guna increases. So he goes into each of them in different ways and energizes them back up. So they get strengthened again, and then they continue to churn, continue the process. Unmagne jhatiti tada dharadharendre, comma, निर्मेतुर दृढ़मिह सम्मदेन सर्वे आविश्य द्वितय गणेपि सर्पराजे, वैवश्यं परिशमयन. The double n that is coming, I'm just going to break it for simplicity. You can put a in and the a if you want to break it and say it that way. It becomes parishamayan avibridhastan. उन्मग्ने झटिति तदा दराधरेन्द्रे निर्मेतुर्दृढमिह सम्मदेन सर्वे आविश्यद्वितयगणेऽपि सर्पराजे वैवश्यं परिशमयन्न बिबृधस्तान्
उन्मग्ने झटिति तदा धराधरेन्द्रे निर्मेथुर्दृढमिह सम्मतेन सर्वे आविश्यद्वितीयगणेऽपि सर्पराजे वैवश्वं परिशयन्न विवृधस्तान् परिशमयन्न विवृधस्तान् उन्मग्ने झटिति तदा धराधरेन्द्रे निर्मेथुर्दृढमिह सम्मतेन सर्वे आविश्यद्वितयगणेऽपि सर्पराजे वैवश्वं परिशमयन्न विवृधस्तान्.
Fourth line, first word, Vaivashyam.
वैवश्यं परिशमयन्न विवृधस्तान्.
उन्मग्ने झटिति तदा धराधरेन्द्रे निर्मेतुर्दृढमिह सम्मदेन सर्वे आविश्य द्वितीयगणेऽपि सर्पराजे वैवश्यं परिसमयन् न विवृधस्तान् उन्मग्ने झटिति तदा धराधरेन्द्रे निर्मेतुर्दृढमिह सम्मदेन सर्वे आविश्यद्वितीयगणेऽपि सर्पराजे वैवश्यं परिसमयन् न विवृधस्तान्.
Not the class here. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam Kaladeshavadebhya Nirmuktam Nityamuktam Nigamashatasahasrena Nirbhasyamanam Aspashtam Drishtamatre Punarurupurushartatmakam Brahmatattvam Tattabadbhati Sakshat Guru Pavanapure Hanta Bhagyam Jananam कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you everyone. See you next class.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye.
Thanks, Rajesh.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rajesh, and happy Diwali, everyone.
Happy Diwali,
Yeah,
everyone.
Happy
thanks.
Diwali.
Thank
Happy
you.
Diwali.
Happy
Happy
Diwali. Happy Diwali.